what are some key things to look for when you're looking into scientific information? Well, I've mentioned before that reading a breadth of opinions is a useful thing to do, because what it will help you understand are common threads in information. Now, what does that mean? Well, behind me, I've sort of mentioned this story before. On this bottom shelf or middle shelf here, there are a bunch of nutrition or diet books, and some of them are just plain diet books. I've got paleo diet, Mediterranean diet, alkaline diet, gut health diet. And what a lot of people do when they interact with me, oh, this book, oh, it's brilliant, this is the sort of the diet I'm going to follow. And then maybe it doesn't work or whatever, and they go to another diet. So there's a common thread of people that jump from diet to diet. That's quite well established. Now, why have I got 11 there? Because I wanted a breadth of understanding about all of these diets that people are jumping around. And another thing was I wanted to look at a specific chapter within each of those books. And the specific chapter is what foods to eat and what foods not to eat. And basically write a list and just list out all the foods and then tally up how much certain foods are shared to eat or not to eat. The food that is consistent, and now again, if you listen to any nutrition person, they will pretty much say ultra processed food is not advantageous for your health if you eat a lot of it over a long period of time. If you want to eat it as a once-off, once a year, twice a year, whatever, it's probably not going to do a great deal of damage. Your body will process it, it will get out the system, and if you're eating healthy enough anyway, your body will be fine. But as a general rule, everyone says ultra-processed food is not advantageous to your health. So that's sort of one side. The other side, and sort of two specific foods that kept coming up, tomatoes and olive oil. Those were two foods that kept coming up throughout many of these books. Obviously, the paleo diet will be slightly different because it's based on certain foods, but again, you could then say nuts and seeds, because they're another common one. I think it was maybe sunflower seeds or something like that kept coming up, but certainly nuts and seeds come up. Again, it's a consistent thread, if not in all of them, in most of them. So you can start to go, well, there's a common thread there. Everyone is saying, no matter their perspective on nutrition, that these are types of foods to start eating. So if you then want to, and this is something that I've done personally, I've then gone, well, let's just categorize these as whole foods. There are going to be very few nutrition experts that say whole foods, i.e. the whole food, a broccoli, a tomato, an olive, are going to be detrimental to your health. Again, if you eat it properly, if you eat enough of it and this, that and the other and da-da-da-da-da, but as a food item, a whole food is probably going to be better for you than it is worse for you. So again, you can start to build this picture of what nutrition is meant to look like. So having a breadth of understanding across nutrition or any subject, just like low back pain, again, go to low back pain experts and start looking at, okay, what exercise are they saying to do? What exercise are they saying not to do? Is there consistent information? Is there consistent information in what they're saying about low back pain? Do they subcategorize low back pain? Things like that. All the different bits of information. So they're not just using low back pain as an umbrella term. Same with core strength, same with fitness training, same with cardiovascular training, whatever it may be. So again, it's looking for a breadth of information, and what you're looking for is to find common threads through that information. So you can start building a truth is coming out at you. The second thing to start looking at is information that has stood the test of time. So a lot of people, and I get it a lot on my YouTube videos, what they say is it's about new science. Oh, this is old science. Don't listen to that anymore. Listen to the new science. Well, the advantage that you have with old science is that it has a greater potential, because it was done much earlier, to stand the test of time. Now, what happens over time is people challenge ideas, people question ideas. Science will re-experiment with ideas to see if they hold up against new theories. So what you're looking for is information that stands up to all of that questioning. New information, again, it can be good, it can be based on a new theory. But the one thing it doesn't have, it will have a little bit of it because it has to get that far. But what it doesn't have is it doesn't have the challenge from all the different sort of opinions of science. So it hasn't necessarily stood that test of time. And that's something that you need to look for in scientific information, be it about low back pain, be it about core strength, be it about fitness training, be it about nutrition, be it about psychology, be it about anything. So you need to sort of find that information that will and has stood the test of time. So it's been looked at in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the noughties, in the 10s, now in the 20s again. So it's not just about learning the latest science, because the latest science has its uses. But if you've got a good underpinning understanding of a subject, as soon as new science comes in, you don't just jump on it. That's known as a fad and as a trend. What needs to happen is it needs to be understood over a prolonged period of time. And it needs to stand that test of time. So not only are you looking for a breadth of knowledge and consistent information, you are looking for that consistency over a prolonged period of time. So you are not only looking at space, but you're also looking through time as well for consistent information. Because what that will then start to do, because if a new fad comes along and it gets disproven quite quickly, get rid of it. So it's about looking at threads of consistent information through time. When you can start to do that, the truth will start to pop out at you, because you'll start reading consistent information. When you start reading consistent information, you then start having a truth. What happens a lot is people have a bias, they have something they enjoy, and they say it's the greatest thing and that everyone should do it. And that's fine. But again, you shouldn't take out of context information. It has to be placed within the context that it's used, because that's another big part of understanding science, is keeping it in the context that it was written. Because when you read a scientific paper, there will be an introduction telling you about the study and why they're doing it. There will then be like a methodology of how they went about doing it, the people that they chose, the methods that they used. Then there will be the results of that, and then there will be a conclusion to it. And what you get is you get a lot of people, they go straight to the conclusion, they find a sentence that says deadlift is great for X, and then they stick it online and tell people science has proven that the deadlift is great for X. But what they didn't tell you is that they used a certain type of person at a certain time in their life with a certain goal in mind. That was what the deadlift was good for. That person at that time for that goal. If they frame it like that, then you've got some consistent factual science. If they just say this scientific paper said deadlifts are good for X, then they're taking it out of the context, because their audience may be different to that of the participants in that scientific paper. So that needs to be understood. So what you then start getting is different contexts. Now, how I can describe context is like a big puzzle. You've got 1,000 pieces to the puzzle, and what people are doing is they're putting one piece that should be over here, and they're putting it down here. So you'll never finish the picture. You'll never get a full understanding of the picture because all the pieces will be out of place. And what a lot of people do is they don't look at the whole picture of the puzzle. What they look at is a small little section of it. And then they build all their information around that little section. And when someone comes along and goes, no, that information doesn't fit there, it fits up here, that's when they become resistant. That's when I may start getting people getting irritated online. And what they'll either do is they'll sort of insult me in some way, shape or form, or they'll just stop talking. That's when I know they probably don't understand the information as well as maybe they should. Again, this is not a slight on any of these types of fitnesses, but you get, say, CrossFitters coming into subjects that maybe aren't CrossFit, or you get bodybuilders coming into subjects that aren't bodybuilding. About bodybuilding, they know everything. They probably know more than most people. They know the context, they know the nuances, but you have to understand that a bodybuilder can step out of that subject and start talking about low back pain, core strength, something like that. Like performance, like sports training is another thing. Again, you can get CrossFitters doing the same. You can get runners. They may start sort of coming out. They may have an understanding of running injuries, but they don't have an understanding of injuries, if that makes sense. So you could, again, it's trying to understand where the person sits, who their audience is, and what they are talking about. So again, I can go on talking about examples like this, but hopefully it's just giving you a better idea of what to look for, which is a breadth of knowledge for consistent information, then information, that breadth of information through time, so it gives you consistent information over time. What then happens is a truth will start to pop out because it's consistent information. Then it's looking at the information in the context it was set out for, which is essentially reading the whole scientific information, the introduction, the methodology, the people used, the results given, and then the conclusion, and then using that information in the context that it was set. So if it's deadlifters are deadlifting for runners, you have to use that information as deadlifting for runners, if that makes sense. Don't take deadlifting for cyclists into talking about deadlifting for runners, if that makes sense. There may be some crossover, I get that, but again, that would then have to be explained. What is the crossover? And then finally, looking at the individual and what is their expertise, and are they talking about their expertise, or are they stepping outside of their expertise? Those are kind of, I guess, sort of 4 or 5 things to really start honing in on, being able to understand this apparent minefield. I don't believe there is a minefield. I think it's just people taking stuff out of context, misunderstanding information, and then sharing it, and then people getting confused because influencer A says this, but then influencer B says the opposite or contradicts what they're saying. And it's just because they've taken the information out of context, because they've misunderstood it, and it all becomes a problem. If you've got any questions about anything that I said, if you want to understand anything further, chuck it down in the comment section below, and I will either answer it in the comments, or I'll put a little video together like this to give you a better understanding. And then again, keep questioning it, gain understanding, keep questioning until you understand. That's another thing that people don't do, is they don't question until they get it. They just question and go, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going back over to my expert that knows what they're talking about. And it's like, oh, no, that expert only knows X, Y, and Z. I'm not talking about X, Y, and Z. I'm talking about something else. So again, we have to understand where the information is coming from and who it's being laid to. So again, I've talked enough now. So many thanks for watching. I'll speak to you in the next episode.